Be it the pearl of the Indian Ocean or the teardrop in the sea, both are true on Sri Lanka. The entire island nation, including its capital Colombo, is caught up in an atmosphere of change. The civil war that lasted more than a quarter of a century ended in 2009. At the beginning of 2015, the people of Sri Lanka voted for more democracy in the form of a new president. The island, formerly known as Ceylon, is an idyllic holiday destination for tourists. It's best explored by train. A train journey here is always also a journey into the country's colonial past. That much becomes clear before we start our journey at the central station in Colombo Fort, in the heart of the city. We buy our tickets at a counter that has a nostalgic air. They can then be checked by a friendly conductor. This station building was modelled on Victoria Station in Manchester. The traces of the British colonial rulers are everywhere. The British ruled between 1796 and 1948. Things were different back then. We're in luck, a special trip on special tracks. It was the island's first railway route, and it's still known as Main Line. The first 54-kilometre stretch to Ambapusa is celebrating its 150th birthday this year. Maybe that's where this train journey gets its charm and atmosphere. It's a train journey that's always been significant to the people of Sri Lanka. We crossed the Kalani, one of Sri Lanka's largest rivers, and leave Colombo behind. The entire trip costs between €1.50 in third class and €8 in first class. Sri Lankans are very proud of their railway. And the bus costs around twice as much. There's even a television in first class. Those who don't like that can travel in third class for less money and, with a little bit of luck, experience some live music. The musician, Lushanta, is actually a teacher, but it's often the case in Sri Lanka that young, well-educated people don't find a suitable job. Sri Lanka is classed as a developing country. Many people live by agriculture. Often €50 a month must suffice for an entire family. That's not a lot here either. 20% of the children are malnourished. The gaps between town and country, rich and poor, are huge. Third class is correspondingly crowded. Some passengers aren't happy about the status quo at all. The people are dissatisfied with their economic situation. We're stopping in Rambukana. It's just a few minutes by tuk-tuk to Sri Lanka's biggest tourist attraction. The Pinnawala Elephant Orphanage. The daily bath in the Maya Oya River is a sensation. Baby elephants and injured adults are nursed back to health here in Pinnawala.
This is Neela, one of our founder members. He's now about 60 years old. He was brought into Pinnawala in 1975. So in 1975 was the inception of this organization. It started off with 5 baby elephants and he was brought in here as a baby. Now he's a very big one and he has fathered about 5 babies for us. We have his daughters and sons with us. Right now we are housing about 77 elephants altogether.
There are 4 baby elephants making the tourists happy here at the moment. They are bottle fed 6 times a day, getting up to 7 litres of milk. The animals are clearly happy. We start ascending the plateau. An ox cart takes 12 days for this laborious journey. By train, it's around 9 hours. Building the railway line took place under severe conditions. Many of the 3,000 workers died of malaria and cholera. However, the soil that proved so tiresome during the construction of the railway line harbours treasures too. There are lots of different gemstones in the ground. They adorn the crowns of monarchs and the jewellery of adored women. As a result, Sri Lanka has a long and lucrative tradition of goldsmithery. These days, it's mostly for tourists. That brings in good money. A goldsmith earns around €200 a month. About to reach Kandy. We've travelled 130 kilometres in 3.5 hours. The climate is significantly more pleasant at 500 metres. Kandy was once the capital of the Sinhalese kings and the epitome of Sinhalese culture. The kings were able to defend their independence from the colonial powers for centuries here. The station was opened as far back as 1867. The blue water lily, Sri Lanka's national flower, is sold here. It's often used as a sacrificial gift at Buddhist temples. One of the most significant in the whole of Sri Lanka is Sri Dalada Maligawa, the temple of the sacred tooth. The most important Buddhist relic in Sri Lanka is kept here, the Buddha's upper left cuspid, a significant symbol of national pride. People come from all around the world to attend the daily services. They donate and they pray. The 90-minute puja starts at 9:30. The word means something like worship and is an important ritual in everyday Buddhist life. According to legend, the sacred tooth is said to store the Buddha's spiritual strength. This belief also turned this religious relic into a political instrument of power for the Sinhalese kings.
Sri Lanka was ruled by kings. There were 7 royal ruling periods. In 1815, the British conquered Kandy, and with it, the Temple of the Sacred Tooth, as an important symbol of power in Sri Lanka.
Patiently waiting outside the chamber where the relic is housed. Visitors only get to see a container. The tooth isn't on display. It's said to be housed in an ivory capsule, which is in turn encased in 6 further containers. It's thanks to the temple that Kandy is on UNESCO's list of World Heritage Sites. There's a further spectacle worth watching, right next to the temple in the late afternoon. Acerodon ubatus bats, otherwise known as flying foxes, are getting comfortable. Kandy is also known for its dance performances. Today, the dances are mostly for the tourists. Waidiyawati comes from a long line of dancers. The dancing tradition is passed on from generation to generation. The training is tough and starts every day at 5 in the morning. Performances take place all year round, with very little time off. The performances consist of up to 11 different items. Balancing these discs is called the Raban dance. A performance lasts for about an hour. We've left Kandy behind. The mountain landscape has some visual treats in store for us. Other treats await us on the trail. The main line snakes its way higher and higher up the plateau. The working population up here, mainly the women, are employed in the many textile companies. Their goods are Sri Lanka's most important industrial export. With wages at just €50 a month, manual labour is no luxury, and it's cheap compared to purchasing a loom. The women get to pick the colours. In the mountains, where it rains a lot, a cotton sarong is better. We're apparently really lucky with the weather today. We're told on the train that there hasn't been a single day without rain up here in 2.5 years. A safe job for many. The income from the tea plantation made the former Ceylon the favourite colony of the British. In those days, the tea pickers only got rice as wages. Today, they get a bit more than €3 a day, working from sunrise to sunset. But that's not something they like to talk about. This is where the famous Ceylon tea comes from. We're in one of the countless tea factories, and we're proudly told what makes it special.
A young, tender, softer leaf may be the better portion of the leaf. And the coarse stalks and the matured leaf can be the substandard material, where you have less chemical compounds. Where the young leaf is concerned, they have the better quality and the flavor by the way of chemical compound. The caffeine, amino acids, polyphenol, and some aromatics and essential oil are very rich when the leaf is young.
100 people work in the Halpa tea factory, which is around 100 years old. After the tea leaves are dried, they're broken up by being rolled and shaken. After that, they're fermented and dried. The next step is to sort the tea by size. Sri Lanka is one of the world's biggest tea exporters. These days, only around 1% of goods are transported by rail. A token is just being handed over. It's in this brass ring covered in leather. It ensures safety on this single-track route and has done since 19... Things follow a slower pace on the racetracks these days.
Stop! What am I doing?
Another relic from the British period, Sri Lanka's most sophisticated golf club.
Actually, this was started by the old British planters, and they kept on looking after it very well. Like it was not mainly for commercial activity. This was maintained like a members club. Because it was maintained like a members club, it was not so commercially oriented. People started loving this place. So it's more than the tourists. It's actually the members who used to come to the pavilion and also to play golf. And so that's why the survival. And also the people around this place, they start loving this place.
Visitors need temporary club membership to play the 18-hole course. The club has shaped the life of Sri Lanka's highest town for the past 125 years. Entire families used to live here. Even children were born on club premises. A change of vehicle. We participate in an inspection on a trolley. Of course, the token is a must on this trip too. Maintaining the railway is quite elaborate work in Sri Lanka, particularly up here in the mountains. The heavy rainfall during the wet season causes a lot of damage to the track. Then it has to be fixed. We visit a British manor house at a slightly higher altitude. It houses a monastery these days, St. Benedict's. Father Michael has run it for 22 years. He runs the school for the novices and takes care of the property too. It's ideal for transporting tea. The token is ready. The next station is Pinnawala. At 1,891 meters, it's Sri Lanka's highest station. Time has a different dimension up here. We haven't seen any animals. It's also quite inhospitable. We're 224 kilometers from Colombo now. The further away we are from the island's capital, the fewer passengers there are on the train. Towards the afternoon, our limbs become tired. We notice the altitude. We deserve a bit of relaxation. The region around Ella is known for its spa facilities.
It's a special massage. All 107 vital spots are treated. That improves blood flow, which influences the organs. It gives you a lot of energy.
We are completely relaxed on our final leg to Ella. This stretch is definitely one of the most attractive in the whole of Asia. That's why it's best to think about its future. A good idea, because that would secure the continued existence of the main line, allowing travelers from all over to discover a new world in just 9 hours.